My unfaithful girlfriend thought I was clueless about her midnight trips to the garden to call her secret boyfriend. But one morning a divorce lawyer surprised her at the front door. Be me, 29-year-old Tyler. Living what everyone thinks is the perfect life. Got a decent job as marketing coordinator. Nice house in Miami with my wife Nicole. Everything looks perfect from the outside. But something feels wrong. There was something about how she closed the bathroom door. Not slammed, no drama. Just a smooth, precise click. Like a banker locking a vault. That was the first moment I felt it. Really felt it. The quiet disgust, the practiced detachment. Standing there in the hallway, holding a cup of coffee I didn't want, staring at that closed door, like it was the last scene in a movie I never agreed to watch. Nicole had been moving differently for weeks. Like she was walking away from something invisible. Her voice had the sharpness of someone always waiting to be annoyed. Her laugh, when it came, was too loud and never mine. She left early, came home later, changed her passwords, started calling me dude. That's what burned the most. Not the absence of affection, but the replacement of it with casual contempt. I didn't suspect anything at first. I'm not that guy, the paranoid one. But the puzzle pieces started showing up in places they shouldn't be. A receipt in her coat pocket for a dinner she said she never had. Lingerie tags at the bottom of the trash. An Uber ride to a hotel I'd never heard of. All ignored. All brushed off with the kind of lies that weren't even trying anymore. She didn't even have the decency to be clever. But I played dumb. You have to understand. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that this was stress or hormones. Some mysterious late 20s phase women talk about in podcasts. But it wasn't that. It was him. I didn't know who yet. But I knew the shape of his shadow. He was in her phone, her pauses, her fresh perfume. That night, I stayed awake on the couch pretending to sleep. She came home at 2:47 a.m., keys fumbling like she was trying not to wake me. Wore heels she never wore for me. Her hair was tousled in a way that wasn't from wind. She smelled like someone else's cologne. The kind of scent that clings to skin, not clothes. She stood there for a second, thinking I was out cold. I kept my eyes closed, breathing slow. She walked past me, her steps slow, careful. She didn't stop. She didn't check on me. She didn't kiss my forehead like she used to when she came in late. The next morning, she was already in the kitchen. Hair damp, scrolling mindlessly through her phone. Wait, correction. Trying to scroll. The phone was dead. Unusual. Nicole was surgically attached to that thing. If that phone had a heartbeat, it would be stronger than ours. I asked where she'd been last night. She said with Jordan, her coworker, helping her with some breakup thing. I asked if Jordan was okay. She blinked, said yes, then no, then changed the subject to oat milk, but I didn't drop it. So why is your phone dead? She shrugged. Forgot my charger. She had 2 chargers, one in her bag, one in her car. I made scrambled eggs. She barely touched hers, just scrolled Instagram on her tablet like she was waiting. And then it happened. At exactly 9:23 a.m., her phone lit up, dead no longer. It buzzed, then froze. The screen showed one notification, just one. No name, no drama, just the message. Your e-signature request has been completed. Divorce documents filed. For a full 8 seconds, neither of us said a word. The world kept spinning. The toaster clicked. The neighbor's dog barked outside. Then I said, "What the hell is that?" She didn't blink. Didn't even turn to me. "Exactly what it looks like," she said, wiping her mouth with a napkin. Like this was brunch at some hotel with bottomless mimosas, and not our marriage burning down in real time. And she walked out of the kitchen. Not a glance, not a sorry, not a tear. That's how the end started. Not with shouting. Not with heartbreak. With a screen lighting up and a woman too cold to even flinch. I didn't follow her right away. I just sat there, half a piece of toast in my hand. Coffee gone cold. Mind chewing on the static silence that followed her exit. My legs felt like they were glued to the floor. The kind of stillness you only feel after a car crash. I stared at that phone. Still lit, still smug. That one message glowing like a loaded gun left on the breakfast table. I wanted to scream, throw it, break something. But I didn't. Couldn't. I needed to know. So I stood up, walked to it, picked it up, unlocked it. She had always kept her phone locked with Face ID. But this time it was wide open. Almost like she wanted me to see. There it was. A string of emails from a divorce lawyer named Laura G. Peters. Messages marked confidential. Words like petition, waiver, asset division. I wasn't even listed as the primary contact. Just an afterthought, a checkbox. Something to inform, not involve. Then came the texts. That's where the real gut punch landed. "Derek, can't believe you finally did it. You good, Nicole?" Nicole. "Free. Finally." Breakfast with the idiot now. Still pretending everything's fine. Lol. Derek. "You want me to pick you up after?" Nicole. "Nah, he'll probably cry. I'll let him sulk for a bit, then go visit my mom." My hands were shaking. I read that line over and over. The idiot. That's what I was to her. Not a husband. Not a man she once loved. Just some clueless background noise. An obligation she was shedding like a skin. And Derek, the man behind the curtain. Some faceless nobody who apparently knew more about my marriage than I did. The man she was texting from my kitchen table. I heard her upstairs. Cabinet doors opening, hangers sliding. Calm. Casual, surgical. She was packing. I went up. She was folding her clothes into a duffel bag I hadn't seen in years. The one we used when we went to the Smoky Mountains. She didn't look up when I stepped into the doorway. Just kept folding. You couldn't even say it to my face, I asked. Still folding. What do you want me to say? I stepped in. How about why? How about when? Hell, how about who? She sighed, set a pair of jeans into the bag like she was bored already. Why? Because I'm done pretending. When? A while ago. Who? None of your damn business? I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so absurdly cold. I didn't know what else to do. You filed for divorce and didn't tell me. You were going to let me eat eggs and talk about weekend plans, while you handed the papers to a lawyer. She finally looked up, and I swear to God, she smirked. You don't get to be mad. You stopped being my husband a long time ago. I just finally stopped pretending you weren't dead weight. Dead weight. There it was. That line didn't hit like a slap. It hit like a scalpel. Quiet, clinical, precise. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stood there letting her slice what was left of me clean open. With those words, watching her zip the bag like it was just another Wednesday. No regret, no fear. Just the satisfaction of someone who thought they'd finally won something. Derek's waiting, isn't he? I asked. She smiled. Not a yes, not a no. Just a smile that confirmed everything. Then she walked past me, brushed my shoulder like I wasn't even there, and left the door open behind her. She didn't slam the front door. She closed it the same way she closed everything. With cold precision, as if she wasn't walking out on a life. Just exiting a meeting that ran too long. I stood at the top of the stairs, frozen in place, listening to the sound of her car pulling out of the driveway. The tires didn't screech. The engine didn't roar. It just faded. I looked around the house like I was seeing it for the first time. Everything was exactly where it had been. Our photos still on the wall. The coffee table book she never read still open to the same page. Her mug half full next to the sink. But everything had shifted. The center of gravity was gone. The oxygen felt different. Heavier. I went back to the kitchen. The phone was still there, face up. She hadn't even bothered to take it. No lock screen this time. Just open chaos. I should have stopped. I should have put it down, walked away, gone outside. But I couldn't. There were more texts. Another one from Derek. Timestamped 3 minutes before she left. Derek. He believe it, or is he going to try and win you back? Lowly. Nicole. He looked like a kicked puppy. He'll probably write me a love letter or some cringe BS, followed by a nauseated face emoji. That one hit differently. Because I probably would have fought for her if she gave me anything. A crack, a pause, a moment where she looked like she remembered who we used to be. But she didn't. She had already rewritten me as pathetic, disposable, a man too soft to see the knife coming, and too weak to pull it out. I scrolled further. Photos. One of them in a hotel room mirror. She was in the hoodie she came home wearing that night. He was behind her shirtless, holding her waist, grinning. Her eyes looked different, not just happy-free, like she had been waiting years to drop the act. Then a video? I didn't watch it. I couldn't. I dropped the phone, backed away like it was something alive and venomous. I pressed my fist to my temples, squeezing until the pressure drowned out the static in my skull. And then I did something I still don't fully understand. I picked up the phone again and texted him. I know who you are. She's all yours. No reply. Of course not. I spent the next hour in the shower, fully dressed, water scalding hot. It didn't help. Nothing helped. I felt like a man waking up mid-surgery. Ribs cracked open, heart exposed, and nobody in the room giving a damn whether I made it out alive. At 3:54 p.m., Nicole called. Not to talk, not to explain, just to ask if I could put her mail in a box and leave it on the porch sometime next week. I didn't answer. She texted 5 minutes later. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I'm not the villain here. That was it. The final twist of the knife. Not the betrayal, not the texts, not even the divorce. The fact that she wanted to be seen as the victim. I didn't respond. I didn't even type. I just stared at that message until my screen dimmed. And the reflection of my own face stared back. Not a man, not a husband. Just a ghost in a house filled with someone else's silence. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in her bed. My bed now, I guessed. Staring at the ceiling. Counting every little thing I had ignored. The haircuts she said were for work. The new gym routine that didn't match her schedule. The way she stopped locking the bathroom door when she showered. Because she no longer cared if I walked in or not. There were no breadcrumbs left behind. Just the mess after the feast. I kept hearing her voice on loop in my head. I'm not the villain here. As if 6 years of loyalty could be steamrolled by a one-sentence revision of history. At 2:58 a.m., I got up and did something I hadn't done in a long time. I opened the bottom drawer of my office desk. Inside was a small wooden box, the one Nicole gave me on our first anniversary. She had written, "For when we forget," on the lid in black Sharpie. It used to hold small notes, ticket stubs, photos from our first vacations. I opened it and poured it out onto the desk. Everything smelled faintly of dust and vanilla. A folded note from a road trip to Key West. You're my safe place no matter what. A movie ticket from the night she cried during the previews and said she couldn't wait to have kids. A photo of us in front of her childhood home. I was wearing that ugly burgundy sweater she loved. I picked it all up and shoved it back into the box with shaking hands. She was the villain. Not just because she cheated, but because she gaslit me into thinking her distance was my fault. Because she smiled through every breakfast, while texting another man under the table. Because she looked me in the eye and said she was done pretending like I was the lie. Around 4:30 a.m., I got an alert on my email. It was the automated reply from her lawyer. The subject line read, your client has initiated divorce proceedings. I didn't even open it. I just stared at the words, trying to figure out how the hell I ended up here. Getting blindsided by a woman I would have taken a bullet for. No therapy, no conversation, no warning. Just a courtroom date and a digital slap to the face. That morning, the sun came up like it always does. Indifferent. Soft orange light spilled across the kitchen tile. I stood there barefoot sipping coffee from the mug she gave me on my 28th birthday. The one that said, best husband ever in bold black letters. I dropped it in the sink. It cracked. Not enough to break. Just enough to show it would never be whole again. At 9:41 a.m., my doorbell rang. It was Jordan, her real coworker. The one Nicole swore she had been helping through a breakup. That night, she came home late. She looked nervous. Her eyes flicked past me into the house. Like she expected Nicole to be there. Tyler, she said, can we talk? I didn't answer. I just stepped aside and let her in, because deep down I already knew. Jordan wasn't here to catch up. She was here to confess. Jordan stood just inside the doorway. Like the air inside the house was thicker than she expected. She didn't bring a bag, didn't bring a drink in hand. Just visibly anxious, and a silence that seemed to press against the walls. I closed the door behind her, and we stood in the hallway like two strangers, waiting in line at a funeral. Is she gone? She asked finally, her voice hushed. I nodded. Left yesterday, didn't say goodbye. Jordan flinched at that, like the absence of ceremony made it worse. She looked down at her hands, then met my eyes. I didn't know how to tell you. I tried so many times. My stomach sank. Tell me what? She took a shaky breath, stepped into the living room, and sat on the edge of the couch. I didn't offer her anything to drink. I just waited. It wasn't Derek, or I mean it was, but he's not just some guy. I felt my throat tighten. Who is he? She hesitated. Then he's her boss. She met him at that strategy retreat last November. The one in Las Vegas. She didn't go with the team. She flew out early, met him the night before. I sat down across from her, hardened my ears. So it wasn't just some fling. No, Jordan said. It's been serious for months. She'd tell me things after drinks. When she got comfortable, she said she was going to leave you for him by spring. But then he started pushing her to make it official faster. So she filed without telling me. Jordan nodded. She said dragging it out would be more cruel. That doing it quickly was cleaner. Her words, I laughed, short, bitter. Cleaner. Jordan kept talking. Maybe because she had rehearsed this. Maybe because she was afraid if she stopped, I'd explode. I asked her more than once why she didn't just be honest. You're not a bad guy, Tyler. You didn't deserve this. I stared at the floor. She didn't care what I deserved. There was a pause. Then Jordan added almost in a whisper, I think she enjoyed it. I looked up. What? She told me she liked watching you figure it out. Watching you squirm! Like she'd been performing for so long in the marriage. That finally getting to play villain made her feel powerful. That's what she called it. Taking the power back. I didn't know what to say to that. Not because it shocked me, but because it explained everything. The smirk, the calm, the need to humiliate me. Not just leave. She always had this version of herself in her head, Jordan continued. The girl who never got walked over. The girl who made the cut before anyone else could. I think she started seeing you as just another man who didn't get her. I nodded slowly. It all fit. Every missing puzzle piece. Every insult disguised as sarcasm. Every backhanded comment about how I never dreamed big. Or played it safe. I had become the weight around her ankle, and she wanted to swim. Jordan stood up. I'm sorry, Tyler. I should have told you. I didn't want to be involved. But when I saw her post that picture with Derek last night, I just couldn't keep pretending. She posted it? I asked. Jordan nodded. Instagram soft launch. They're in Charleston. My jaw clenched so hard I thought my molars might crack. Thanks, I said, for telling me. Jordan reached for the doorknob, then paused. She's going to paint herself as the one who got away. She'll say you were controlling. Boring. She's already said it to people at the office. Just be ready for that. I stood there for a long time after she left. Not moving, not breathing. Because Jordan hadn't just confirmed the affair. She confirmed the erasure. Nicole wasn't just leaving me. She was rewriting me. Turning me into the villain in her new origin story. And I was supposed to disappear quietly. While she bathed in applause. Not a chance. By noon, I was a man possessed. Not angry, not yelling. Just ice. Cold, methodical, surgical. I went room by room packing her things. Not throwing them, packing them. Every sweater, every shoe. Every makeup product she hoarded under the sink. Her favorite throw blanket. her monogrammed wine glass, even the novelty socks her mom gave her that she never wore. I made neat piles, labeled the boxes. One was marked bathroom, one was closet shoes, and one was simply lies. That one held everything she left behind that mattered. The wedding photo she never took down, the engraved watch I gave her on our anniversary, the Valentine's card that said, "You're my always." I wanted her to open that box and choke on the weight of what she so effortlessly discarded. At 3:27 p.m., her lawyer called. I let it go to voicemail. I already knew what it was. Paperwork, deadlines, digital signatures. I wasn't playing along. Not anymore. Instead, I went to our shared iCloud calendar. She'd never changed the password. She never thought she needed to. I opened it and added one event. 7 p.m. next Thursday. Come collect your trash. No context, no reminder, just that. Then I logged into her shared Spotify account, the one we both used for road trips and lazy Sundays. I made a new playlist titled Soundtrack to a Midlife Crisis, and filled it with breakup anthems, sad indie rock, and passive-aggressive songs she used to hate. Set it to autoplay. Left it looping on her tablet in the guest room where she used to work. Petty, maybe, but it was the only kind of scream I had left. At 6:15 p.m., her mom called me. Caller ID, Linda M. Ice Queen. That's what Nicole had jokingly saved her as once. I never changed it. I answered. Tyler, she said cautiously, like she didn't want to be pulled into anything. Linda, I heard what happened. I'm sure you did. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't know. Not really. I didn't respond. She sighed. She's at my place for now. For now. She says she's moving in with someone next week. I assume that's the other man. I could hear the disgust in her voice. She didn't like him. She didn't respect the way Nicole handled this. That made two of us. I packed her things, I said. Tell her to come Thursday, or I'll leave them on the curb. A pause. Then, are you okay? It was the first genuine question I'd been asked in days. No, I said, but I will be. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and drafted an email to her lawyer. Nothing emotional, nothing desperate. Just a clean, brutal message. All communication will now go through my attorney. You will receive his contact info shortly. Any further attempts to contact me directly will be ignored. Also, your client's belongings will be available for pickup next Thursday, between 7 and 9 p.m. After that, they'll be considered abandoned. I didn't sign it. I let the silence speak. Then I did one last thing. The cruelest, maybe the most honest. I opened our old shared Google Photos album, Us. I added one last photo to it. It was the box labeled Lies sitting on our kitchen table. Caption, the only part of you that still belongs here. Then I archived the album. And with it, I closed the last window she had into my life. Thursday came fast. The house was spotless by then. Emptied of her scent, her clutter, her lipstick prints on the hallway mirror. I'd cleaned with the kind of rage that leaves your hands raw and your mind blank. I scrubbed out everything. Her dry shampoo bottles, the rose gold earrings on the nightstand, even the coffee stains on the counter, where she used to pretend to listen to me. By 6:50 p.m., the boxes were stacked on the porch, taped, labeled, civil, but lined up like a quiet funeral procession. And I waited. 7:13 p.m. Headlights in the driveway. Not our car. Derek, of course. He stepped out like he belonged here. Button-down shirt. Fake smile. Holding his keys like he was doing me a favor. He walked up to the porch and gave a soft nod as if that would keep his jaw in one piece. I didn't get up from the bench. Just sipped my beer and stared at him. Hey, man, he said. Man, like we were acquaintances. Like he hadn't helped burn my house from the inside out. She's not coming? I asked. He rubbed the back of his neck. Thought it'd be cleaner this way. Cleaner. There it was again. That word like I was a mess that needed disposing. I stood, not quickly, not threatening. Just enough to make him understand. I was done being quiet. You know, I said, you could have just waited until she ended it. You didn't have to sneak around, hide in texts, smile in my face like a coward. He sighed. Look what happened. She wasn't happy. And you were... I don't finish that sentence. He didn't. Just bent down and started loading boxes into the trunk of his car. No questions, no excuses. He knew. They both knew. I leaned against the railing, watching him work, watching him struggle with a box that was heavier than it looked. Her lies had weight, apparently. She ever tell you about our first apartment? I asked. He paused. She picked it because the window faced the sunrise. Said it made her feel hopeful. Funny, right? Same woman who couldn't be bothered to say goodbye now. He didn't respond. Just kept loading. You'll get maybe 6 months, I said. Then she'll start finding ways to blame you too. She always needs a villain. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. When the last box was in the trunk, he shut it and stood by the car door. You done? I shrugged. Just getting started. He got in the car without another word. But before he drove off, I walked up and tapped the window. He rolled it down halfway, cautious now. Tell her I said I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I watched her leave and didn't blink. She doesn't get to rewrite that part. Then I walked away. Back inside, back to my silence. No victory, no closure. Just the clean, cold snap of a door closing behind a man who didn't flinch. The night she left for good, The house made a different sound. Not louder, not quieter, just emptier. Like it was finally breathing again, after holding its breath for too long. The boxes were gone. The porch was clear. Her perfume no longer hung in the air, and yet everything still smelled like aftermath. I didn't cry. I didn't punch walls. I just stood in the doorway for a while, staring out at the street, trying to understand how a life that took years to build could vanish in the space of a half-hour pickup window. Inside, her absence wasn't peaceful. It was surgical. The kind of silence that doesn't settle, it slices. I made dinner. 1 plate. Ate in silence. Washed the dish. Sat on the couch. And that's when the texts started coming in. Not from her, from them. People who had no idea what happened. Friends, mutuals, co-workers. The overlap. Nicole had started laying down her version of the story. And already the whispers were crawling into my phone. Kelly from her book club. Hey, I heard you and Nicole split. That's so sad. She told us things got kind of cold between you two. Hope you're doing okay. Ryan from work drinks.
Damn, man, sorry to hear!
Nicole said you were struggling for a while, but I didn't know it was that serious. Struggling? Cold? That serious? She wasn't just erasing me. She was rebuilding herself as the one who survived me. I let the messages pile up. Didn't respond.
Let people believe what they wanted.
If they needed a villain to sleep easier, fine. I wasn't going to waste breath defending a story that was already edited, printed, and sold. But I wasn't done. At 11:18 p.m., I logged into the shared drive we used for house projects. Paint colors, receipts, insurance docs, and buried in one of those folders deep down was a subfolder labeled Life Plans. Her idea. I opened it. There was a document she'd written 2 years ago. A 5-year plan. Kids, a vacation home, her dream job. My name was all over it. So was the word together. I downloaded it, saved it as a PDF. Then I emailed it to her. Subject: thought you might want this. Body: here's a copy of the life you planned, in case you ever forget who you were before you became someone else's echo. No sign off, no anger. Just the artifact of a woman who once believed in us. Minutes later, she read it. I watched the read receipt appear. No reply. Instead, she posted a photo on her Instagram story. 2 wine glasses, her and Derek's hands toasting. Captioned, "Freedom looks good on me." And that was the moment I stopped being angry. Not because I forgave her. Not because I healed, but because I realized I wasn't the one who lost something irreplaceable. She did. She gave up a man who would have carried her through anything. For someone who applauded while she burned the bridge behind her. She wasn't free. She was fleeing. And that difference, that was mine to keep. 3 days later, I got a letter in the mail. Not from her lawyer. From her. Handwritten, slanted cursive on expensive stationery. The kind she used for birthdays and thank you notes. The envelope was sealed with a wax stamp. Classic Nicole. When she couldn't control the truth, she dressed it up and perfumed it. I sat at the kitchen table. The same one where she used to sit cross-legged while eating cereal. And opened it without expecting much. The letter was 6 lines long. Tyler, I know you hate me right now. That's fair. I want to apologize for leaving, only for how I did it. You were good to me. Too good. Maybe that made it harder. And yes, I lied. I just didn't know how to leave without burning everything. Don't wait for me. I won't look back. Nah. No love. No remorse. Just neat sentences and finality wrapped in expensive paper. I read it once, then again. Then I dropped it into the garbage disposal and turned it on. She wouldn't look back. Good, because I wasn't standing there waiting. I took the rest of the day off from work and drove. No map, just miles. I ended up at the lake an hour out of town. The one we used to visit in early fall. The one where we once carved our initials into a tree. Like we were teenagers with delusions of permanence. I found that tree. The carving was still there. T+N with a little uneven heart around it. She had laughed when I first carved it. Said it was corny, but she took a picture anyway. Posted it that night with the caption, "Still can't believe I found my person." That post had been deleted, of course. Along with most of our photos. Scrubbed, sanitized, rewritten. Standing there looking at that heart, I realized something brutal and freeing. She hadn't just broken the vows, she had never really meant them. Because when the storm hit, when real life crept in, messy and imperfect, she ran, found someone easier, someone new. Someone who didn't remind her of the truth she used to believe. I picked up a rock and scratched a line through the carving. Just one line. A strike. Not to erase it. Just to mark it for what it was. A lie. I didn't cry again. I thought I would, but the grief was drying now. Turning into something harder, calmer. Like stone that had cooled from fire. On the drive back, I turned off my phone. No distractions, no messages. I didn't want her haunting my silence anymore. Back home, I opened the closet where her dresses used to hang. And found one left behind. The red one. The one she wore on our 3rd anniversary, when she still looked at me like I was the whole room. I held it for a moment, not out of sentiment, just to see how little weight it had without her inside it. Then I tossed it in the box labeled Lies. One last thing to return to her. Not out of kindness, but out of closure. The day I returned the final box, it rained. Not dramatic movie rain, just that quiet, steady drizzle that turns everything gray and reflective. I didn't wear a jacket. I didn't even bring an umbrella. It felt fitting to let the water soak through my shirt, the cold running down my arms. As I carried that last box to her mother's porch, I didn't ring the bell. I didn't wait. I just left it there. The red dress folded neatly on top, with a single note tucked into the collar. You forgot this, like you forgot everything else. I walked back to my car and drove off. Before anyone could open the door, before anyone could see the look on my face. Not sadness, not bitterness, just closure. The kind you earn, not ask for. By the time I got home, the house felt different again. Not quieter, more like the echo had finally left. For the first time, her absence wasn't something I noticed. It was something I welcomed. That night, I went through my phone and started unfollowing people. Her friends, her cousins, anyone who knew both of us and sat on the fence while she set it all on fire. If they hadn't reached out by now, they weren't really neutral. They were spectators. I had no use for spectators. I wasn't rebuilding a version of my old life. I was building something new. At 10:19 p.m., she texted, "The first since the letter." Just 4 words. Was that really necessary? I stared at it, then blocked the number. She didn't get access anymore. Not to my time, not to my pain, not to me. I opened a blank document on my laptop. No plan, no title. I started writing. Everything, not just about her, but about me. About how I let things slide. How I ignored red flags. How I tried to love someone through their own erosion. How I mistook silence for peace. The words came fast, not angry, just honest. For the first time in weeks, my hands didn't shake. And somewhere between paragraphs, I realized I wasn't writing to remember her. I was writing to remember me. The man I was before I became her supporting character. The man who believed in second chances, in loyalty, in showing up when it mattered. He didn't disappear. He was just waiting to be let out again. At midnight, I stood outside in the rain again, face tilted up to the sky, letting it wash everything down the driveway. The dust, the ache, the last shreds of who I thought I was supposed to be. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need her regrets. I just needed this moment. So I stood there barefoot in the dark, letting the rain baptize a man who was finally done being someone else's casualty. The following week felt strangely weightless. No more calendar notifications for couples therapy. No side eyes from across the dinner table. No pretending. No double life hovering in my home like steam that wouldn't lift. People say heartbreak is loud. For me, it wasn't. It was quiet. Still. Like standing in the middle of a snow-covered field at night. Every sound muffled, every movement deliberate. Nicole didn't try again after that last text. She didn't show up, didn't call from a different number. No passive-aggressive emails or fake apologies. She disappeared into whatever filtered world she had constructed with Derek. They were the new authentic, I suppose. I didn't look. No Instagram checks. No stalking mutuals for updates. The woman I married was gone long before she walked out the door. I was done feeding ghosts. But the world around me, that took longer to adjust. At work, they'd stopped asking. I could feel it. The shift. Co-workers who didn't know which version of the story to believe gave me tight smiles and quick nods. The ones who did know, though, they started talking to me differently. Like I'd been through something sacred and broken. Like I wasn't made of the same things anymore. And maybe I wasn't. I spent evenings doing nothing. Not numbing, not running, just being sitting outside with a drink and no phone. Watching the wind pick through the trees. Listening to the strange hush that falls over a neighborhood. Just before dusk. Some nights I talked out loud. Not to her, not to myself, really. Just to the silence. Asking it questions I didn't expect answers to. Why did I let her get so far away before I noticed? Why did I shrink so quietly to keep her from leaving? Why did I believe someone could love me right and still be capable of such casual cruelty? But those questions became less important each day. I was no longer trying to make sense of her choices. I was rebuilding mine. I started boxing old photos. Not burning them, just archiving. One by one, they went into a bin marked past. Not trash, not regret. Just a chapter I survived. And then something small happened. I went to a hardware store on a Saturday morning. One of those errands I always used to run while she slept in, and found myself talking to a stranger in the paint aisle. A woman, early 30s, looking for a shade of blue for her front door. We laughed about the absurd number of color names. She asked what I was painting. I told her a room I finally get to call mine. She smiled like she understood exactly what that meant. Her name was Harper. I don't know what will come of it. I'm not projecting. I'm not hoping. But for the first time since the day Nicole's phone lit up, with divorce papers, I felt something that wasn't rage or grief or emptiness. It was small, but it was alive. It's strange what survival actually feels like. It's not heroic. It's not cinematic. There's no grand moment where you look in the mirror and say, I made it. It's quieter, grimmer. It sneaks up on you in the middle of folding laundry, or hearing a song you thought was ruined, and realizing you're still here. Still you, just older, sharper, stripped clean. And that was the lesson. Not that Nicole was cruel. Not that she cheated, but that somewhere along the way I had convinced myself I needed her to be whole. I didn't. She left. She rewrote. She turned a home into a memory. A man into a footnote. But in doing that, she exposed something she never meant to. Her emptiness, her need to be adored, even if it meant destroying the person who loved her most. People like that don't win. They just move faster from chapter to chapter, never realizing the story is the same every time. And me, I stopped reading her book. I started writing my own. I painted the guest room. New color, new shelves. Filled it with books, old records. A couch that doesn't face a TV. A room meant for thinking, not forgetting. The kind of space that doesn't apologize for being quiet. Harper and I have talked a few times. Coffee, a long walk. Nothing more, no expectations. Just two people who understand the value of being present. And when I lie in bed now, I don't wonder what she's doing. I don't rehearse confrontations that'll never happen. Or check her socials for signs of regret. I let her go. Because when someone shows you what they are, and you still choose to hold on, you're not loving them. You're abandoning yourself. So here's my advice for anyone reading this, who's been where I've been. Don't chase closure from people who made a sport of hiding it. Don't beg for truth from someone fluent in lies. Don't carry guilt for trusting someone who buried you in silence. You can be the kindest man in the room, and still be the one left bleeding. That's not your fault. That's their reflection. So clean the house, pack the boxes. Scratch the initials off the tree. And when the phone lights up again with a memory, a name, was that really necessary? Don't answer. You're already living the answer.